Defense, defense, defense. It really isn't easy this year. Man coverage is nice, but certain routes just seem to win against it every single time. Zone defense, doesn't really break on the ball fast enough, so you end up having holes all over the field. And match coverage has plenty of bugs. So what do you do? Well, to be honest, I don't really know. But what I do know is that being different will at least give you a big advantage. Every decent player knows how to beat man in zone 30 different ways, but most people don't really know what to do against match coverage, other than that crossers, posts, and corners tend to, bug it out. And that's true to a certain extent, but there are ways around that and ways to mitigate that as well. We just need to understand the coverage better than our opponent and watch out where we're weak, which, is generally in a small few manageable spots rather than all over the field like zone or even sometimes man coverage. I think cover 9 this year is particularly interesting, and I want to show you guys how it can be used as a really nice trips defense for you guys. So what you're going to want to look for is at least nickel, potentially dime package, to get that third or that fifth defensive back on the field. And if your particular package doesn't have cover 9, all you have to do is find a cover 6 and flip it to the side that flip the cover 2 side to the trip side, essentially. So I'm going to call that, and then we're going to come out in gun tray Y flex, which is a really, really, really tough formation. It's it has been for a while now, and especially now. So we need some answers for that. So really quick before we get into cover 9, just breaking down why the other match coverages I don't tend to use as much. So if we go, say, regular cover 4 quarters, at the time being, the strong side on the trip side is still spot drop coverage, and the weak side is man match coverage. So if you have any sort of crossing between the two, particularly from the zone side to the man side, you're going to have some big issues there. So here we have just cover 4 quarters, and we're going to go out here and PA crossers, so many people's favorite plays. And the recent patch made it so that the route here from Metcalf is covered by this backside safety, and he does an okay job. The tight end and the running back are covered pretty well, but if we're crossing from the zone side to the match side, you'll see that routes like this post just get open over the top very, very easily without having to really dissect that defense. When you're playing special, so whether you're playing cover 4 palms or cover 6, so special, right, this guy and this guy could potentially be man-to-man coverage on 1 and 2, and a lot of the times you have this safety manned up on the number 3 guy who can be, somebody really good like Tyreek Hill or something like that, or even he doesn't even need to be good. So he struggles against crossers and he struggles big time against corner routes. So the crossers aren't that, we can account for that by, being on the 3 rec or the backside safety and making sure that crosser is covered. But usually, since we're in the middle of the field, we can't really cover the corner route. And because this quarter flat isn't necessarily a flat defender, you often get this situation that I've struggled with for a while now. So SE corner, where we have 2 digs and then a corner route from the number 3, and you see he just gets open there, and that'll usually be a 1-play score as well. So not something we can really use. And so you have these corners and posts and crossers that also give zone coverage a lot of issues. So we know that if we're to just come out and cover 2 or cover 3, this crosser from number 3 is always going to get open unless you manually use it out yourself, or if you drop the flats really, really far deep, but then you're really exposed underneath for really easy throws that can turn up the field and be potentially even as many yards. And then of course that dig, again, if you're not pushing those hook curls really, really back, that dig gets behind all those zones, and that's another good option. Not to mention this drag, and then you can do other things with this running back as well on a little bit better check down. So it's really a lot to manage, where I think match coverage does a little bit of a better job because we can have that tight coverage plus a little bit of zone support from the rest of our defenders, right? Because we have 7 guys in coverage against 4 or 5 routes. We can naturally create a lot of double teams and favorable matchups where in zone we can't, and man, although people do that where we're manning up across the board and then putting zones where we think we're vulnerable, or vice versa. If we're playing zone and we're adding in man, we're vulnerable. So instead of guessing, we're essentially letting the structure of the defense take care of it for us. Now, it doesn't work out perfectly. It probably doesn't work out great either, because there's still a lot of growing pains with this coverage, but by and large, it can be effective for you. So I'll just show you how it works out here. So again, the important thing is, like if you call cover 9 with auto flip, everything will be fine. If you call cover 6 or either of them without auto flip, just make sure that the cover 2 side is to the strength. A lot of these don't have soft, some of them are soft squats, some of them are cloud flats, and you can actually switch it up a little bit. I think having a soft squat there is probably your best bet. And the one thing I would do is just press this tight end right here. You can do whatever you want with your line, that's up to you. You can change that up throughout the game. And then I'll just show you how this play works out before we go into any of the user stuff or adjustments or anything like that. So by and large, I think this coverage does a really good job of locking down the running back and the tight end. So if you're pressing this tight end with a nice, good, fast corner, he's essentially taken out. Like there's nothing he can do. This is something people like to do, drag him across. There's nothing he can do there. And I'll show you later, even if he's running a streak or a corner or anything like that, he doesn't really have much of a chance. Same thing with the running back. So the will linebacker is man-to-man on the running back. So any sort of check downs or flares, unlike zone coverage, he can't get underneath that and then rack that up the field for more yards because he's tight on him. And what's cool with these weak quarter flats that are man-to-man on the running back is that, unlike man coverage, where if the back stays in to block, he would turn into a spy. In this case, if the back turns into stays to block, he turns into a flat zone. So if they're trying to get some extra protection against you, keeping that back in, then if you have, say, crossers coming from the other side, he can help out on that rather than just being there to look after the quarterback, where you might already have a spy already on the field. So that's a nice addition as well. You have the crosser right here, who's walled off by the 3 rec, really, really nice. Does a great job there, so you can't quick throw that. And then this logic was added in the last title update, where before he would kind of bug out, but now he actually matches the crosser, though he doesn't actually do a good job. You'll see if we do it to the other side of the field, he does a good job, but here he doesn't. So that's something we have to watch out for. The dig right here, which is a good route. This year, if you're in man coverage on him, like you would if you were in a soft squat right here, it just gets, that corner is able to jump that really, really nice right there. And you don't even really need a good corner right there. He's almost always going to jump that, and that's potentially. And what's cool about it is that for a split second there, it looks open, but then your corner gets in front of it and is going to pick that off. Number 2 here is carried by the vertical hook. Unfortunately, he kind of lets him pass, but you have the safety to cap that anyway. So you are quite solid across the board with this really, really nice play on offense. So we showed you there that crosser got open. If they are running the trips into the boundary right here, you see that he actually does a better job of converting. And if I were to throw that, you could potentially click on and make a play on that ball. So then just to reiterate, make sure that your cover 2 is on the trips, preferably with a soft squat there. And then I would just press this weak guy as well. And then from there, what you also might want to do is pass commit. I know this is also a good running formation, but there are ways that we can add in run defense with inside stuff, like a couple videos ago. The reason why is that if they call PA crossers, we want this vertical hook right here not to get caught up on the play action, and surprisingly, he actually does. There seems to be a few spots where play action actually works out. So if I go ahead and call this PA crossers, now this is just a stock setup, but and I had a little bit of pressure there. But I think the replay should still be okay. Okay, so on the weak side here, right here, this tight end could potentially be open, honestly. Nobody really uses this route, but potentially if they throw that on time, they could get that. But if that's a good corner, he's gonna, swat at that and make a play on that. This guy, the running back's into block, so he's helping out a little bit, though, you know, there's no routes coming into the zone. The crosser, again, because the trips is through the field, he beats this guy, which is really unfortunate, but like, especially since like he sees him coming all the way over here, there's no reason for him not to get in front of that, but it is what it is. Over here, the vert hook is able to match the post pretty well. You see he has a kind of a step here, but what's cool is that if you were to try to throw that over the top, first of all, this defender can undercut that sometimes. By the way, I don't know the speed matchup here. I might be kind of bad. But also, if you try to lob that above, since you got this guy too, he'll break off his man, and then he'll go up and pick that off. Down here, if you are in a soft squat, this corner matches the post, and you see that he actually has him beat there too, which is, you know, why I'd actually tend to back off both of these guys just to make sure everything's okay. Or if he's in a cloud flat or a hard flat, this safety would have actually matched the post, and I think he does a little bit of a better job against that post, but usually nobody's really ever looking at this. They're looking at these two routes right here. So right away we see some issues there in terms of crossers getting open, post routes potentially getting open as well. One thing you can do, and this works really well in big nickel over G, because you can just show blitz and this backside safety comes all the way down here. But you can just go ahead and do this, and it looks really stupid, but it usually tends to work out. So in this case, he doesn't have a chance to get deep above the crosser. So in a lot of cases, he'll be able to, you see that he'll match the crosser much better. Again, I didn't have time in the pocket here, but you see he's able to kind of get underneath the crosser and start running with him, rather than before he was above, let him pass, and then by that point it was too late. So if you don't want to use that guy yourself, which I'd actually suggest in a lot of cases, I would just move him all the way down here, or if you're running big nickel over G, you can just show blitz and he'll go down there himself. But you know, if I want to be really, really safe, a lot of times I'll just go ahead and use this guy myself, and I'll just make sure that the crosser's not something that can ever be touched. Because I know the rest of my coverage is quite sound. The only issues are really just up here. So I'll make sure the crosser's there, and then if they're running something like PA crossers, a lot of the times you can actually just midpoint those routes and bait either one. Like you could, you know, it's actually easier to climb than come down. So you would kind of be on the crosser, bait that post if it beats the vertical hook, and then work your way above that, which is a really nice option. Something to watch out for is that this vertical hook is kind of not really, he does have a bug. So if somebody comes underneath him, like 1 or 3, if they come underneath him, then he'll forget about his post. And there you go, you have the same issue that you had with quarters before, if I'm able to squeeze that in. So that's why I'll tend to just be this guy and make sure that any sort of bugginess is cleaned up over there. Because you're going to be safe over here, you have this half, he's quite safe. This guy's locking in the corner here. You're just going to have, with your speed, get your speediest guy, make sure any crossers or potential free posts over the top don't get there. And usually people are kind of too afraid to try you there. But even still, if they try you, there's good ways you can pick them off. Okay, let's take a look at that corner route that was giving Palms and Special really big issues here. So what's nice is that you have a deep half over there to be really, really safe. So if they're throwing the corner route high and wide, you have the safety there to make a play on the ball. Now this is kind of a bad corner route to show because it breaks too far upfield. There are those sharper corners that are able to get underneath that safety, so I'm just going to have to do like a deep out to simulate this. What's nice is that soft squat or that cloud flat is there, right? He's going to let the underneath go, and then if you try to throw that corner there, you're going to have that corner underneath ready to pick that off. Now, while we're in SE corner here, you also have this really nice halfback option route, which I'm not sure if many people use, but I know that the Texas route is definitely something that people use a lot against man coverage, especially this man coverage with nobody in the middle other than user, or even potentially he's not in the middle. So that sharp inside route will torch man, and In particular, if they're using this option route, which is really, really nice, it sits in this nice spot against zone that none of the zones will cover. He can catch that and turn that upfield for a bare minimum of 10 yards. So what's cool here is that it's man coverage, i.e. this guy has got him man coverage. So if he goes to the flat or if he checks down like outside, he's going to win. But if the back turns back inside, the back wins, but you've got help inside, right? So even if I throw it in this sweet spot, I still have that corner at the very end to break that up. So really, already you're seeing a lot of good options here. Of course, there were, a little bit of holes there. We already show you how we can potentially work around that. We also have levels Y corner. This isn't a great corner route, but I just want to show you again. Again, we'll be pressing this guy here. Even if we try to throw this at the break, you got the corner there ready to make a play underneath. We got the Will over here playing that table route, kind of like a hard flat, right? He's coming right down on that. Sometimes, in this case, he played kind of a weird technique and bumped into the guy. So a lot of times, they can still throw that and pick up a couple yards. But usually nobody really wants to do that. Like if you're running clouds there, they could catch this and turn that up for 10 easy yards, especially if you're doing the big 25, 20-yard flats to get those crossers out of the way. In this case, he does a good job, and even if he were to wheel up, this guy's got him. And, against man coverage, wheels don't work this year. And then, of course, you had the corner who bumped into his guy, but was still, able to undercut that. So a lot of awesome options right there. On the other side here, you have a number of in routes. So there was kind of a little sweet spot here. I mean, you would probably, you'd probably do some bait usering type of thing right here, but you see the 3 rec gone into a nice spot here to wall this guy off until this guy gets into play. And then underneath, the vert hook is able to kind of hold enough to cover this guy quickly and then cover the next guy quickly. And then potentially as a user, you could, bait this level's concept over here. So really sound all the way across the board for the most part. And another potentially devastating part about this, so let's just go, let's just put this guy on a streak right here. So if they were to run number 3 right up the middle of the field, nobody's going to cover him. So just like this. Now, this isn't something people often do. Usually this guy's running some sort of route, but that's something to watch out for. So you have a number of options here, and this and the crossers and posts are really what dictate what you want to do, right? Because again, anything down here we consider to be covered by our corner and our will. Anything deep left we consider to be taken by the deep half. Deep short, you have the vert hook and the soft squat that do quite a good job. Even kind of underneath, especially if you have maybe a spy there to really just add that extra guy underneath. I don't know why I keep putting him on a spy. To give you just kind of an extra little body there to navigate through. If you want to, user the backside safety because you're not sure about that crosser over there, I would essentially just work from number 3 to number 2 to number 1, right? So if number 3 goes all the way vertical, I'm just going to take him. And if it becomes a big issue where they're running that every play, you might want to do something else, and we'll get to that. If he runs out, like say a corner route like you did before, then you take the new 3, right? So the new 3 would be the in from the number 2 or the number 1, because you don't need to care about the corner at that point. The safety or the strong safety and the corner over there have him. Or, if they're running PA crossers, like I was telling you, you can have the crosser and peel off if you need to, if the vertical hook gets beat. But yeah, by and large, you're running kind of a, cover 9 or quarters in general for the most part is split field coverage, meaning one side doesn't really have anything to do with the other. But since this guy is relating to crossers this way, you might as well take control of him and really play aggressively on that. Don't allow that crosser to cross his face. So you can do that. If you do the thing where you line him up right here and he does a good job at covering the crosser, or if they're running their trips into the boundary, you can trust them to do this job and you can take over on the 3 rec here. But in this case, you would, again, make sure first and foremost that the 3 isn't vertical up here. So you would cover him. If he's running a crosser, you would let him go to the safety, and then you would work, you know, if for whatever reason there's somebody open coming from the other side, you would take that there. So you would never really think about the side to the right because I have the wrong controller here. You know, the tight end's out of the picture, the back's pretty much out of the picture. So you're just going to worry about the first guy coming inside. Or, you know, if you want to be really, really safe, you can put this guy on a middle third and just use her like Hulk with this vertical hook. If you want to do that as well, that's also a nice option for you. Or you could potentially even just man this guy up. Sub in some safeties here so you have some speed, and you should be solid for the most part. And the other reason why I'm running cover 6 and cover 9 is that if you want to run odd fronts, where you have the nose tackle on the center right here, you really, if you want to run match coverage, this is really your only option, cover 6 and cover 9, or you really just cover 6 and then you can flip that. The reason why this front is so important to me is that you can stuff inside zone, right? If you have inside stuff ability and you put this guy on a spy and they try to run inside zone on you, you don't even have to worry about shooting gaps as a user. Like, you can be up here hanging out and you know that your run defense is going to be good because that guy's going to blow through any sort of inside zone. And then, yeah, in general, I would suggest containing. Things really tend to break down and people get more time if they're able to escape the pocket. So usually I add contain in there just to make sure that they have to stay in the pocket. And then the other thing is that their throwing angles usually become worse. You know, they want to throw those corner routes, those crossers, and if they're in the pocket, it makes that much, much worse. So that's a nice, another little addition. You know, this new title update made it so that you can contain even against cut blocks and even against play action as well. So they're going to be really much more consistent for you. Sometimes they still break down, but much, much better for the most part. Okay, so that's cover 9. Let's hope there's more improvements throughout the year. Let's hope it doesn't backtrack again back to spot drop zone coverage. I think it's in a pretty nice spot now. It has a couple of those issues like I was talking about, mainly with crossers and posts still, but you can definitely make up for that by just working on this guy right here, because everything else is for the most part locked down relative to the other coverages in this game. Okay, so that's it for this one, guys. I hope you guys liked it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.